You have a...
Thank you. Hey, I'm Grant.
And I'm Lee.
And this is Tabletop Tech Talk.
This week we're going to be talking about everything Apple, the most clickbaity thing on YouTube. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, so Apple is getting real close to their fall announcement. Usually they do the software update and talk in like spring, summer, and then in the fall every year, like clockwork, we see new phones.
Right around September 12th of every single year.
Almost to the day. And we're getting real close, so it's going to be a fun time. What's on the docket?
So what I hope to see is going to be USB-C. I really hope to see USB-C.
I do too.
The universal cable, in my opinion.
It would just make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Android use it. Our MacBooks use it.
Yep.
They're putting it on the new iMacs.
Yep.
It's really the new go-to thing. You get faster speeds. Your SSDs are reading it. The newer cameras are getting it put on there.
That's true.
I think they really need to go with USB-C.
It would be really nice. It used to be like Android used micro USB,
Mm-hmm.
Google used USB-C, Apple used Lightning and Thunderbolt and stuff, and now it's all starting to become very mainstream and together with the USB-C port. And so now it's not become, hey, can you toss me the Android charger? It's, hey, can you toss me the charger?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you have an Android or a Google, it's USB-C. And it would be so nice to see Apple go that direction, is be, hey, can you toss me the charger? And no matter what phone you have, it works.
It's there.
That'd be phenomenal. And I could use the same cable to charge my MacBook as I use my iPhone.
And on that topic, you can get faster charging out of USB-C than you can at the Lightning port.
Significantly.
So the speed of so if you charge your phone for 10 minutes, you can get almost 6 hours of use out of it.
Yep.
And that's the Samsung Note 9. 15 minutes of charge gives you 4 hours.
It's crazy.
Which is really cool in my opinion, considering that phone has the biggest battery of any flagship phone right now.
Yep.
So hopefully Apple will move in that direction. Speaking of bigger phones, bigger batteries, the newest iPhone 10, the iteration of it, whatever they're going to call that, 10S, 11, whatever, should hopefully have a 6.5 inch screen.
Yes.
From what we're hearing. And then hopefully because of that should have a bigger battery.
That'd be really cool. I know a lot of people who chose not to get the 10 last year because there was rumor speculation that this iPhone that's coming out in a few weeks was going to be a plus size iPhone 10 essentially, and it would be a bezel-less version of the 6.5 inch phone.
Right.
I know a lot of people were waiting for that, and it's looking like that's a really strong possibility from Apple. That would be really wonderful. I might jump to it. It depends on cost. I'm already not happy spending $1,000 on a phone. That's a hard pill to swallow. And I don't know. It depends on cost and stuff. I would really be okay with an LED screen. Yep. I would be really okay if the screen was not OLED.
Well, I like the OLED screen.
It's nice, but really for like day in day out use, like on a phone, like I didn't see the world's biggest. The refresh rate was really nice.
Yeah.
The animations are super smooth, which is really nice because of it. But honestly, like in a phone, I'd be okay cutting the cost by $300 and having a plus size iPhone. Bezel-less LED screen.
Well, the reports are saying right now that the cost of the newer phones should be cheaper. The top tier iPhone 10 right now, I think whatever it was new was almost $1,200 with the highest spec storage.
Yep.
What they're saying is that the larger phone with the highest storage should be right around $1,000.
That would be really nice to say,
which would be really cool. But Apple, being Apple, might jack up the price.
Absolutely. And as soon as they put USB-C on, that's going to be another $100 charge because it's USB-C. Yeah. That's Apple. Just kidding.
We'll just see how that goes, though. I'm a fan of the current size iPhone 10.
I am too. I went from a 7 Plus to the 10, and I was really happy with it because it fit a bit better in my hand. Although I had pretty decent sized hands, so the 7 Plus fit very well. But it was nice to be able to reach my thumb completely across to the other side, where I struggled to kind of do that before, while still not sacrificing any screen real estate. I still get edge to edge, so my 10 is technically a longer diagonal screen size than the plus size 8 right now. So I don't feel like I'm being cheated on size or space because of the screen, which is really nice. It's been a lot of apps have been slow to adapt to it.
Right.
Updating for the iPhone 10 format. So you see a lot of apps out there that are still 8 and 8 Plus, even almost a year to the day after the 10's been released. Some of your really big apps have usually are on it pretty quickly. YouTube,
right.
Netflix, those guys.
Well, the reason for that is because it's a whole new it's a new aspect ratio. Because the current aspect ratio is your standard, I think 16:9. And whenever app developers, that's why apps came first to Apple than they did to Android most of the time. Is because it was one screen size, one OS, and it was like a one size fits all app developing program.
Makes sense.
So whenever they came out with the iPhone 10, you have the bezel to work around, the forehead that we like to call it, the notch. You had to work around that, and that was a really complicated thing for app developers to not only make all these different iterations of apps for Android phones, but then you have to make 2 for the iPhone.
Speaking of the notch, do you think it's going to come back in the new iPhone?
Oh yeah, they're not going to be able to get rid of that yet, because especially since you have your speaker there and your
forward-facing camera.
So you have your speaker there, you have your forward-facing camera, your light sensor, and your proximity sensor.
Right.
Those are 4 things you can't really get rid of without keeping the notch there.
Right.
So if you get rid of the notch, you're going to lose some of that functionality, and I don't think the technology is there for that yet.
Okay. That would have been nice to see. But it's looking like there's going to be 3 iPhones too, not just one really big one. It looks like a 5.8 inch, a 6.1, and the 6.5.
Right. Which the 6.1 I think is the current size, and then there might be a smaller one which will have a single lens camera. So we hear just a single camera, and then the 6.1, 6.5 should have the two lenses.
That makes sense.
Your zoom and then your wide angle.
And what do you think about reports that they might possibly start doing dual SIM in iPhones?
I think it'd be cool. There's a lot of business professionals out there who have that need for having 2 SIM cards and 2 different carriers on their phone. Android's been doing it for a long time. I think it's about time for Apple to catch up on that game. Of course, you do have your built-in SIM chip and the Nano SIM, which could be considered one. But I think if they added the functionality for a second SIM, it'd be really good.
Do you think there's much there for like most civilian use, like your average iPhone user? Do you think it's mostly for business?
I wouldn't need a second dual SIM. I really wouldn't need a second SIM card. I don't really find a reason for it unless maybe I was going to traveling outside of the country.
Right.
But then in that case, a lot of carriers now are giving you the capability of using your current SIM card and just being able to roam.
That's true.
Anywhere.
That's true.
But I think what they need to add, which I know they're not going to do this year, but they need to, is the SIM card expansion or SD card expansion.
Yes.
Storage expansion would be huge because you can get a 256 card now up to almost, there's a micro SD cards coming out in 512 gigs now that Apple really has the ability to run support to, but they're not going to because of your iCloud storage that they make you pay monthly for.
That makes sense. It would it'd be really nice to see that. I know a lot of users, especially with how much they're pushing for content creators like photographers and videographers and stuff, but limiting how much your storage size is native to the phone, but also the cloud compresses heavily photographs and videos. So it doesn't make it a viable platform for me to upload raw photos and like 4K video files and stuff like that because it just takes forever. And once it gets up there, I can't get the same resolution back down as what I put up.
Right.
So I have switched to other types of cloud storage mediums because Apple does that.
And you have a really cool way of storing your stuff in the cloud right now. Would you mind going into that?
Yeah. So to get around the cloud thing, because the iCloud compresses, I'm not a big fan of the Google Drive UI. And there's a few other ones out there, but I haven't tried and tested them. I'm a big fan of Dropbox, but I really only use that for clients. So I put my edited work into a Dropbox folder and give the link out to that because anyone can open that whether they have an account or not, which is easy. But for me, for personal archival stuff, I use Western Digital's MyCloud device. Really, really handy device. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I am. I kind of just bought it. The lowest tier version of it, about a 4 terabyte version. There's faster, more enterprise driven NAS drives out there, but I just kind of went on the cheap side because I just needed something. And as soon as I plugged in and started using it, I immediately loved it. Because I have my desktop, my PC at home. It's a tower, and so it doesn't go anywhere. And so I have several hard drives I can put in there, but it starts to, if I want like a backup system or something like that, I can't back up internally to the computer because what if something happens? So my big thing was getting it outside of the computer, and so I have a NAS drive hooked up to a switch via Ethernet to my router. And so no matter anywhere I am in the world, as long as the internet's pumping to my house and as long as I have a cell signal or an internet signal on my computer or my phone, I can access my entire archive.
Which is a much better system. It's more frugal rather than paying $2, $10, $20, whatever it is for the iCloud service. You pay $100 one time for 4 terabytes, and there you go.
Yep.
That's more storage for less money.
Oh, way more. Way more. I think it might have been a little more than 100 for 4 terabytes, but it's way cheaper in the long run. I do pay $10 a month for Dropbox because I do like to have a terabyte of Dropbox for my clients and stuff like that when there's large weddings or stuff like that. But the Western Digital MyCloud has been a huge part of my workflow and has definitely become integral to what I do because I can now go out and do a remote shoot with my laptop and my camera, edit remotely, and if I find a Wi-Fi signal in a Starbucks or something, I can then immediately send what I just worked on to my NAS drive at home. And not only do I have a copy on my MacBook, it's saved at home. And then if I want to, I can pull it down from my iPhone.
Right.
If I want to get the lossless files out of it. So that's a great way to go for content creators that I recommend to avoid the iCloud compression. Because boy, is that terrible. Boy, is that terrible. I've lost a lot. That way.
Yeah, and I've noticed it too, especially whenever you're shooting any sort of video. It's one, it's a ton of space, and two, you can't really download the full 4K files.
Yep. No, and yeah.
So I think that's enough of that tangent. 3D Touch. 3D Touch.
It's going away.
There's speculation that it's going away. I really hope it doesn't because that is my favorite feature on the iPhone.
See, I wouldn't be mad about it.
I would be very upset because say you're texting out your girlfriend and you have a really long You have a really long paragraph that you're going through. Whenever you're using the iOS keyboard, you can 3D touch, force touch, whatever, on the keypad, and then you can use it as a cursor, almost like a mouse. And that is my favorite feature that they've ever added to the iOS. And I would really kind of be upset if they got rid of that because it would be. And you got to like long press, hold down, wait for the magnifying glass to pop up, and then slide your finger around. And really, to me, that's not useful or convenient.
Right. Now you say that is one of the few ways of force touch that I use force touch. There's not much I actually use force touch for. I wish force touch
3D touch.
I wish 3D touch was used more in the iPhone 10 software. In the iOS software in the iPhone 10 because closing apps is a bear on iPhone 10 and no one talks about it, but everyone thinks it. Like why do I have to swipe up halfway and hold and wait, and then once all the apps are there, why do I have to then press and hold for another second again before I can start closing? That could have been so much more seamless with force touch or 3D touch. Instead of, I get that the half swipe up brings up your apps, but to close them, it could have just been a force touch and push it down into the phone and eject
then a
it.
swipe,
or something like that. Sometimes you don't have to, because I have to rest my phone there to open all the apps and then rest my phone there or my thumb there again to open the close menu. I think there could have been a few more things that force touch could have been implemented on. So I wouldn't be so sad to see it go away, but I do use that cursor thing a lot in long text and Instagram posts and stuff.
I really think I don't like that they're getting rid of it, especially since they could have expounded more on it. Whenever you have like a notification drop down, if you force touch on it, you get to auto reply on like a text message, for example. Like with Android, if you force touch, you get a lot more information displayed on your notifications than you do in iOS. And I think they really could have taken that and developed it more to make it more user friendly, give you more options with the 3D touch than what they're really giving you. And if they're going to take it away, I hope they replace it with something better. I don't know what else they would replace it with. But.
It would be very Apple to just take it away, and not have a replacement for it. But it would also make much more sense to have a replacement, either some sort of functionality for the phone, either more space, getting rid of the 3D layers of the screen to make more space on the inside for larger processors, more RAM, bigger battery, stuff like that. I can see that, making a practical application of it, but all just rumors.
Yeah. I think they're going to be adding a new W2 chip as opposed to an update to the W1 chip, which hopefully would work a lot better. The W1 chip is currently in the AirPods, which we're hoping for another revamp of that too.
Right. What has it been, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years since the AirPods came out. And they need a second iteration of that because the first ones are great. I really like it, but the W1 chip is a little
It can be a little spotty sometimes.
Especially if you're switching from your phone to your laptop or to your iMac. It's supposed to be seamless, but the W2 should fix that.
That'd be nice.
It would be really cool if they added more like sweat resistance, weather resistance to the AirPods, and then of course like maybe noise canceling would be cool.
That would be cool. I have used my AirPods on airplanes before, and I'm trying to think of something nice to say. It didn't work. It does really well job. I have the AirPods. They're phenomenal. I use them all the time, especially for phone calls. And the audio quality is astounding to me in like a room like this when there's not much going on.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very high quality pair of earbuds or headphones. Like it's just a very filling sound. It's very rich from the highs all the way to the lows. But it does not cancel audio.
No, and like the Sony WF-1000Xs, I think is what they're called. Is I had those for a period of time, and they were phenomenal. They sounded great. The noise canceling worked better than anything else that I've ever used, other than some over ears. But I really found myself getting rid of those and going back to the AirPods just for functionality.
Yes.
I mean, if you go to anything that's not the AirPods, you're going to have some sort of latency whenever it's wireless. If you're watching a video, the audio is going to be off from the person talking, and that's one really annoying. But whenever you take out one pod, it pauses your music. You can use either one to talk on the phone. But with a lot of other truly wireless options, you don't get that. But whenever you're on an airplane, I found myself resorting back to my over ears, my noise canceling over ears, just because they're noise canceling.
I would much, even if they weren't active noise canceling, I would still prefer over ear on an airplane or a very noisy environment than I would the AirPods.
They get uncomfortable very quickly.
That's very true.
They kind of hurt my ears sometimes.
I think that can be said for most headphones, though. It's all going to depend on the ear shape. Like my dad's AirPods do not stay in his ears. He's so funny. I love him to death. He puts it in, and he only uses it for phone calls. But he's on the phone all the time with his job and what he does, and so he'll keep having to push it back in. But it's so much more convenient for him than having a wire going around or going speakerphone, because he can't usually do that.
And they do have options for that, like little hooks and stuff that you can attach to them, but you have to take it off to recharge them and put them back in the case.
That's true. Shifting gears from Apple accessories to other Apple accessories. Good segue. The Apple Watch.
I'm hoping for a truly bezel-less watch.
That would be really, really cool.
Do
you think they're going to go? Are they already OLED?
I don't know what the screen type is that's in it, but the speculation is that they will be more bezel-less now than they were before. I was really, to begin with, hoping for a more round design. But if they keep the same design, that means your current accessories will work. That's
true. I would like a round design too. I only wear the Apple Watch really for functionality because of the text message updates. It's so much more convenient than pulling my phone out. The weather updates I get with certain apps that I use, it'll tell me within 5 minutes when it's going to start raining, and that's so much more convenient than pulling my phone out. Driving, it's so much nicer, especially if I'm in a car that doesn't have Bluetooth. Being able to have a phone conversation without taking a hand off the wheel or anything for safety, as well as just fitness tracking, like my heart rate and stuff, because I know bad hearts run in my family. So it's a good way to track that kind of stuff. If none of that mattered and I was going on style, I would never wear the Apple Watch. I would much be more wearing Fossils or Nixons or Citizens or something like that. Much more for the design, because a watch is all about fashion and design, really.
Well, it's becoming more about functionality nowadays.
A bit more.
I mean, I've had I've had a smartwatch even before I had an Apple Watch, and the way that makes you use your phone is much more fluent. It saves battery on your phone.
Yes,
and
it is.
It's a lot more convenient to have that functionality there than it is to wear like an old school watch.
I'd agree with that. My battery life is extended on my phone day to day because most of what I'm doing is on my watch and not the phone. So I do get that. I would love Apple to go with a more circular design, but it makes sense for them not to, based on the rest of their product design. So you look at the iPhone, you look at the MacBook,
and it's a whole new refresh, and I'm sure there's a lot more to go into that. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And speaking of time, I think that's all we've got today.
I see the segue there.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we hope you have a good one.
Thanks, guys.